So,
You've been everywhere.
been everywhere, yeah. Flew in from Houston, Vegas, San
Where you
Diego
at
here.
before Houston?
I was in Nashville.
Before that?
Before that, I was in, where was I?
Vegas.
I was in Vegas again, so.
Before that?
Before that, listen, I was in my mom's womb and I was begging to come out. I was ready. I was like, yeah, man, we're coming out. When two people fall in love, no, tell me where you've been, man. Tell me where you've been. That's a great icebreaker, you know what I mean?
I heard your first word was content.
You know, that's not a lie. It's not a lie. I think my first words were content for sure. But yeah, if we haven't met before, my name's John. You know, I introduce what we do or even who we are. I'm just gonna start with a joke. Okay, how many of you guys have Filipino friends? Everybody does, right? If you don't, you know you do. You just don't remember them. Okay, so it's because they look Mexican. They're mixed, right? You don't know if they're Filipino, right? All right, exactly. You don't know if they're Filipino until you hear them, watch them cook, right, and see they're going to be lumpia. So, icebreaker, what do you call two Filipino pilots? What do you call two Filipino pilots? A pair of pliers. A pair of pliers. Come on, man. Right? Come on. You know, oh my gosh. A pair of pliers, huh? That's what you call two Filipino pilots. Pair of pliers. It's so funny because like the first person that ever told me that joke, his name was Jaime.
Oh, Jaime.
His name was Jaime. And we here's the thing. We just met, and the dude goes like, "Hey, let me tell you a joke real quick that you'll get." And I'm like, "What?"
No, he told me that he charges white people extra the first day I met him.
So he's a scrappy Mexican dude, you know. He's like, "Hey, orale," like, you know, like he's very like in your face, and he has like the great personality, all that stuff. Literally the very first things I remember when I met him was like, "What do you call two Filipino pilots, my friend?" I'm like, who is this guy? I don't even know you, man. And he's like, pair of pliers, isn't that funny? Because you're Filipino. I'm like, what the? Hey, fuck you, bro. Like, I'm like, serious? I didn't know whether to like, you know, punch him or like laugh and just give him a big hug and be like, you know what? Bro, we are going to be friends for a very long time, right? And now, like, it's been about, like, I met him in 2007, right? So we're still friends. He came to our wedding. Like, we've had businesses together. And that was, like, the power of, like, that first initial impression, right? Where you feel like, man, I could do business with this person. I could just be his friend because there isn't this, like, formal, like, hey, how's it going? You know, handshake, eye contact, right? And all that stuff. And you're like, this is getting weird. Why are you shaking my hand so long, you know? It's that first impression. So I hope with these donuts, we made a great first impression on the team.
The subtle racism, dude.
Right. Yeah. Look, man. Listen, we're all racist, okay? Let's just get over it. Like, we're all a little racist. It's not even against any race. We're racist to each other. Our Filipino brothers, well, we just make fun of each other. We're racist towards each other because we're Filipino, you know? So that's just how it is. It's like, you know, everybody's got to laugh. You got to have some humor. You got to have some laughs. You got to break through that uncomfortable, awkward stage because everyone's a little tightened up, especially after the year that we had, right? Yeah. After COVID, we're all wound up. So if someone could bring in some energy, someone could bring in something that's like really impactful, really like, man, I remember the first time you walked through that door. Let me tell you the first time I talked to Clay. When I met Clay, this dude, first impressions, speaking of first impression, he was wearing a wooden bow tie. And I was, right?
Wooden bow tie?
Wooden bow tie. So my first impression was like, this guy is wearing a wooden bow. He's a wooden bow tie man. I've never seen a bow tie like that. We're gonna be friends forever. I was his best man, and he was in my groomsman. So we were in each other's weddings. And bro, it's like, how long have we known each other for?
At least 10 years.
At least 10 years. And we were roommates and all that stuff because of that first Impression, right? And that's super, super important.
Dang.
He stood out. He stood out of everybody I met. I was like, dude, there's something about this dude. He's rocking a wooden bow tie. He's buttoned up. He's got a big old smile on his face. He speaks my language. You know, he's my brother from another mother. And now we've been in life for like such a long time, right? We're like lifelongers, right? Lifelongers. And I don't know how many of you guys have like that are friends that like have those like lifelong relationships. You're like, yo, I rock with you since day one and we're tight and we're gonna do business together, or we're just gonna be friends for life.
I feel like that's what I've been able to establish.
Yeah.
Know what I mean, at least the belief on my end that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to
Absolutely.
maintain that relationship. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Solid, brother.
You get a t-shirt.
You get it.
You gotta earn them. You gotta earn these shirts. You can't just give them away, bro. You can't just give these shirts away. Oh my gosh. Everybody take a chair. Jeez.
Toyota Corolla.
Oh my gosh. No, but let me ask you guys a question. Why do people buy? Why do people buy? Give me some answers.
I feel like people buy because of the urge of not being able to know what to do with money. People get money and they want to spend it, bro.
Okay, why do people buy? Impulse? Why do people buy? Necessity?
Sometimes whatever is associated with that specific brand. So like it's attractive.
Okay, breaking it down.
Attractive? What do you got? Why do people buy?
Necessity, something like you need it.
You can't say what he said. What? That's not how this works.
Off the top.
Why do you buy?
Why do I buy?
Why do you buy?
Depends. Sometimes,
Swag.
yeah.
No, seriously, right?
Sure, you said that. Material.
Come on, Frank.
All right, material. Why do you buy?
What's
Oh,
up, man?
boo! That's good. Original points goes out. No, you got all the goods. All right. Have you heard?
People buy fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. Fear of missing out. Fear of missing out. What's up? How's it going? Ralphie? So people, why do people buy? You know, I don't know if you ever heard of like know, like, and trust, right? Know, like, and trust. Like people buy because they know, like, and trust, right? Right? People buy because they know, like, and trust. But let me tell you, like that's not why people buy. That's when people buy. When people buy is when they know, like, and trust your brand, your business, you as a person, you as a salesperson, right? That's when people buy. But the reason why people buy is because of two things, and only two things. All these things that you guys said were phenomenal answers, but I'm gonna boil it down and I argue with people all the time. They fight me on this. Like, John, what do you mean, man? Why do people buy? Because, you know, necessity, all these other things that you guys have mentioned, absolutely great answers, by the way. There's only two reasons. Let me just tell you these two. Number one, happiness, right? Happiness. Is this gonna make me happy? They believe in their mind of one thing, this purchase is gonna make them happy or bring them joy. Right? It's gonna bring them happiness or joy. Why are ads on my Instagram feed every two, 3 posts, and then I see an ad. Every 2 and 3 posts I see an ad. And funny enough, I'm like, oh, damn, let me click the link. I click the link, I'm like, oh snap, I'm gonna buy this. And then I send this down, you know, get one of these down the street, you know, like, dude, people buy because you think it's gonna make you happy. Like people don't wake up every day saying, how can I be miserable? Right? Everybody wakes up thinking, what can make me happy today? What's gonna make me happy, right? So that's number one. Number two, the reason why they buy is they need to solve a problem, period. They need to solve a problem. How many of you guys had like a bad water leak in your house before, right? Right, recently. I just had this last week. How many times you guys had to take your car to get an oil change, right? I just had to do that last week, right? Because you have to solve, not that you're gonna be happy when it's solved, right? But you don't go out saying, I'm gonna go change my, tires today. Like, no one's happy about that, right? But you gotta do it out of necessity. You gotta do it because it has to solve your problem. So when you boil everything down, brands, this and that, but with brands, you could tie it back to, why do they think this brand's gonna solve their problem? Because when they purchase Nike, when they purchase Adidas, when they purchase a brand that has clout, they think they're gonna level up their swag, their status, right? When you buy an iWatch, oh yeah, I'm in the Apple club, right? When I have like Mac laptops and all that stuff. The reason why I buy Mac and not other Windows, because Mac, to tell you the truth, is when it comes to specs and all that stuff, pretty garbage, right? Because you could go buy and build your own mega computer, right? With more RAM, more memory, more this, and it's a Windows or whatever it is, you could build your own. But you purchase a Mac because what? Status. The brand. You're buying into the brand, but what makes you think, the reason why you purchase that, I just bought a $6,000 Mac, right? For the work that we do. We do a lot of content on the daily, right? Instead of buying a $6,000 Mac, I could have bought a $2,000 computer, like a Windows, but it would do exceptionally well beyond what my Mac could do because I could customize it, I could make it better. So why am I gonna spend another, $4,000 on a Mac brand? Because everything I have and I own is Mac. And when people see that I'm on my Mac laptop, they're like, that dude's creative, right? The first impression, it goes back to tying into that first impression, right? So 2 reasons why people buy. Number 1, what was that? Happiness. It's gonna bring you joy. Number 2, problem solving, right? And it all boils down and ties back to those things. So why does this matter? Because when you're dealing with people that are in your industry and people that you're trying to acquire, people that you're trying to win them over, right? It goes back to number 1, first impression. What is their first memory of how they approached you or how you approached them? What was the first conversation? Was it, hey, let me tell you about those people that are at the mall? We were just at the mall. And the people that are in the vendors, hey bro, let me get your shoe, let me shoe your, let me shine your shoes up, let me. And I'm just like, I'm Filipino, I have to go over here. Like, I don't want any of that. Like, I start changing, you know what I mean? First impressions is everything. Like, when they get aggressive, some people love that. It depends on what type of person you are, what type of personality. So you gotta be like a personality chameleon, right? You gotta listen, you gotta read people's body language. That first impression, if they're approachable, if they like that high energy, you come up and you're like, hey man, how's it going, man? Like you have this high, you match their level of energy and they're gonna be like, oh, mad respect. You read me before you even approached me. Yeah. So you gotta know your audience, know who you're talking to, right? Before you could even start that first impression. You gotta start calculating in your brain, you're all street smart. Right? You're all street smart. But street smart people are scrappy, right? We're scrappy people. We are scrappy because we have to understand and listen to body language, watch body language, understand what they're doing, And then you adjust your strategy, right?
Yeah,
you
like
just
tonality as well.
Tonality.
Especially since we're on the phones and stuff like
right,
that.
Right.
Kind of catch them within like the first 10 seconds to really see how to navigate through the call. And stuff,
Absolutely.
Tonality.
If you're looking, and this is the whole reason why I haven't even mentioned what we do or who we are yet, right? I haven't mentioned anything, but you're bought in. You already know. You're like, man, this guy's dropping some wisdom. This guy's dropping knowledge. Sure. So this is how the formula works, all right? And I've totally used this whole thing as an example and a strategy to get you guys here, right? So the formula is this. Number 1, you got to have a remarkable first impression, not only in person, but digitally. What is your digital footprint? Right? As you as a person, because people don't buy from companies or brands or anything like this. They just don't nowadays. They did 10 years ago. Yeah. When they saw Coca-Cola, when they saw McDonald's, when they saw all this stuff, Nike, they buy from brands. But today, influential marketing is the number 1 exhilarated process to earning someone's trust, to know them, to like them, to trust them. That's how people buy. That's how I do business deals. That's literally how we built our company, through relationships and being personable. So that first impression, you got to think about that physically and digitally. How you make a first impression is everything. Everything in this business, everything. Right? Digitally on LinkedIn, what is your profile? That's why when we started doing profile photos, right? It started to pop out. People saw, it wasn't the fact of like, oh, is that dope or not? It was the fact that it's different. Right? You cannot, let me tell you this, and this is the truth. Being the best isn't working. Everybody's gonna be better than you. What's working today is being different, right? So different is better than best. Once you start differentiating your content, differentiating your personality, differentiating your first impression with people, that's when people think about you top of mind when they're ready to do a deal, right? When they're ready to do a deal. So what does that mean? So number 1, I told you the formula is first impression is number 1. How do you create the best first impression? A different first impression. You got to think, everybody is scrolling through their feed, seeing 300 pieces of content every single hour, right? And maybe they're scrolling through some like buyers all the time or salespeople all the time. How many times, how many real estate agents are there just in this, right? Too many. Yeah. So how do you win deals? Differentiation, not being the best, Because everyone's trying to be, oh, I'm throwing this, I'm throwing this. Everyone's trying to undercut. Let me tell you, this is the craziest market to be in. You guys chose, by the way, you guys chose the most saturated industry on planet Earth next to fitness, right? And you guys know that. So if you're trying to win, let me tell you, you could make a crap ton of money in real estate. This right here, this will take care of your generations, your kids, if you guys put in the work and understand the formula of how to get attention and close those deals authentically, right? So if you're in this place right now, you have the potential to be making 6 figures a year, if not more than that. Right? Depends on how much energy and how much time you put into the process, and understanding that this is the best industry to be in if you know and understand it. And if you have a likable personality and if you understand marketing. Okay, so number 1, I told you first impressions. The second thing is showing up. Showing up, what does that mean? You gotta show up in people's lives. What does that mean? Well, John, I can't physically always be at someone's place. That's called a stalker, bro. I'll get arrested for that. I get arrested for that. No. What I mean when showing up is like, why do people like personas and influential people, how do they show up in people's lives? They own a podcast. They put content out there. Brands talk about them. You got to ask yourself, who is telling you my story? How do I show up in people's lives? Who are showing up in your lives? For me personally, the people showing up in my lives is my friends and my family, right? They're constant, and my coworkers. Right? They're constantly have my attention. They're constantly in proximity. They're constantly showing up in my lives, right? And I'm like, okay, so if I had a brand or if I had something like, a business or anything, like how would I show up in people's lives? Constantly, right? That's number 1. The best way to do that is through content, personal content, by the way. Personalized content. It's not like branded content or anything like that. It's like, hey, let me just tell you my story, because story connects to people. When you tell people, when they see your face, when they hear you, when the video is the closest thing to being in person, right? In proximity, and like currently right now, and maybe holograms later on in the future, but it's video right now, right? It's video. And when you show up, how you show up in people's lives, that creates know, like, and trustability. Right? That creates and here's a study psychologically, and it's something that is called the mere exposure effect. And this is why Nike spends literally millions of dollars in billboards, traditional advertising, and digital. I tell people, I'm like, why do you have a billboard? Why are you spending money on like TV ads and radio ads and stuff like that? To be honest, it's because of this psychological thing. It's called the mere exposure effect, right? Or as some people call it, the familiarity effect. That means the more time people see you, hear about your brand, 7, 8 touch points, personally touch points, right? When they hear your brand on podcasts, when they hear advertisings, when they watch your advertising on TV, when they see a billboard, when they see your Facebook ads, already before they even show up to your website, they're already familiar with your brand. And if people are familiar with your story, your brand, they're most likely gonna do a deal. Now, how many know that a referral is like your best friend, right? Someone actually referring your business, right? A word of mouth, maybe from a trusted friend or a trusted source, right? Why is that? That's a guaranteed close. I would say, if you mess that up, you gotta quit sales. If you can't take on if a referral comes through by a friend and you can't close the deal, you shouldn't be in this industry, because that's a guaranteed sale, because someone already did your marketing. Someone else already put you up and propped you up. Know, like, and trustability is universal. It could relate to anything in business, relationships, friendships, whatever you put it on. If I don't know, like, and trust you, I'm not gonna buy from you, right? I'm just not. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's why influencer marketing is the most tapped into business. It's $1 billion business. Yeah. What is influencer marketing? People that have a big audience or a crowd that is connected to their crowd, to that person. They have a tribe, they have a community that they speak to, that people look up to them for, right? To influence their buying habits, to influence their lifestyle habits, right? Whether they are lifestyle influencers, maybe they're a health fitness influencer. There's so many different verticals, but let me just break it down to this. You as an individual are an influential person to the company that you are a part of, because you have influence over people that are in your circle. It might not be 100,000 followers, but it could be 10 people that are influenced by the decisions that you make, that they come to you for decisions, right? How many friends of yours come to you for advice? I want to see everybody's hand raised because there's somebody that comes to you for advice. Hey, bro, I need help with this. Hey, what do you think about this? You know, help me talk through. You have influence over somebody, right? It doesn't matter how large a scale or how small a scale. But the idea is that you got to leverage that with brand. You got to leverage that with your story. You got to leverage that with content. You got to leverage those things. That's just one small sliver of marketing, right? So I'm telling you, if you want to make more money this month, if you want to, you have the vehicle to do that. You got to change your thinking. You got to change the way you think about your relationship with money, the relationship you have with people, the relationship you have with your content that you post on Instagram. Maybe you don't post maybe you're not on social media. You're like, yo, dude, social media is stupid, bro. Yo, it's the devil, bro. I don't use social media, bro. They're going to hack my data, bro. They already have, all right? They already have your data, period. They already got it, all right? So don't be afraid.
But I use DuckDuckGo instead of Google. So, I'm off the grid, right?
You think, he's like, what the fuck? Like,
Eddie already knows.
I know. DuckDuckGo, that's super meta for that's super meta, bro. I use Rumble, you know. So basically this, if you're not leveraging your social media, if you're not leveraging your brand, your personal brand, you're missing out on the money you could be making every month, period. And it's literally, and it's like, you know what, it's my boss's fault. A lot of people will say it's someone else's fault, it's somebody's fault that I'm not making money. It's because I didn't have any opportunities. It's because this, it's because that, it's because, you can point to whoever you want, but at the end of the day, I'm telling you, at the end of the day, you're gonna go to bed being responsible for yourself, okay? It's on you, period. And this is something that I've had to learn and struggle with growing up my whole life, okay? Especially being the color that I am and coming from the background that I am, Asian culture, right? I was supposed to grow up to become a male nurse, y'all. A male nurse. I faint at the sight of blood. I don't trust myself with other people. I just can't do it. Male nurse. Can you imagine me, male nurse? Let me just take your blood pressure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't do it. I don't trust, all right? It was a male nurse or being what's it called? A postman, right? You know, I don't know if you're familiar with my uncle Joe Coy, right? Or Pacquiao, my uncle Pacquiao. We're all related, right? So I'm just saying. This is what I want you to hear, okay? Like, it doesn't matter what circumstance you're in, you have the choice whether or not to make more money, period. My dad used to tell me when he got fired when I was 9 years old, he got fired from his machine job. He told me, son, he looked at me, he's like, son, listen, you gotta work for you.
You had a thicker accent.
Oh, hoy. He said this, boy, listen to your papa, okay? Don't work for someone that you can get fired from. And I was like, Dad, what do you mean? He's like, you got to own your own business. You have to be responsible. You have to ask yourself, how much do I need to make today? How much do I need to make this month? Who am I responsible for? I'm married and I got a kid. They both don't work. My kid doesn't work, right? He's 1 year old, obviously. but I'm the one, right? I'm responsible. And if I have a bad day, if I don't close any deals today, who doesn't get to eat, right? So taking that responsibility, you got to understand you have to change your thinking when it comes to like the business side and making money. You could be making literally commission. How much can people make here? $100,000 a month?
Oh man.